What is up, mathematicians? Today we are going to talk about subtracting fractions. Now, before we get into our review activities and practicing some new strategies for subtracting fractions, let's go over our I will statements for today. Remember, your I will statements are your goals for this lesson. They are what we are trying to work on and learn more about throughout our time together today. As we continue on in our lesson, make sure you have your mind focused on these three things and showing them to your teacher. I will read the I will statement first, and then we will read it again a second time together. Make sure you're reading it nice and loudly so I can hear you, but no shouting necessary. Let's go over our I will statements for this specific lesson. Listen to me first. I will make like units numerically. Say it with me. I will make like units numerically. Number 2, I will simplify fractions. Read it with me. I will simplify fractions. And our last one, I will compare strategies for subtracting fractions. That's a long one, so read it while you say it. I will compare strategies for subtracting fractions. For one of your reviews today, you are going to be playing Around the World. How this game works is you will each start by sitting on top of your desk. While you are sitting by your desk, one student will stand by the person next to them. Each of the students will be shown a math problem at the same time. It might be a multiplication problem, addition, subtraction, or division problem. Your job is to say the answer as quickly as possible. Whoever says the correct answer moves on to the next seat over. If you answer incorrectly, you move and sit in your seat and watch and cheer your friends on. The goal of the game is to get all the way around the room by answering all of the facts correctly. By answering all of the facts on the screen for you to pause and talk about. I will post the rules on the screen for you to pause and talk about. Come back and play the video. If you had any questions, ask them now. Math problems you will be using for this round of Around the World. For this Around the World game, math problems you will be using for this round of Around the World. Fractions that have like units. For example, 1/3 plus 1/3. And you would then say 2/3 or 2/3 as your answer. These are like denominators. They're the same denominators. Let's look at another example. If I said 3/7 plus 2/7, once the board was flipped around and you saw this, you would say 5/7. This game is about speed, but make sure you be patient and don't just blurt out answers. Give yourself time to think. Good luck, mathematicians, and come back when you are ready to work on our application problem. Now, when we were last together, we talked about adding fractions by making like units numerically. We did our multiplication to make the like units before adding the fractions together. What I want you guys to talk about really quick is what is the relationship between addition and subtraction? We're going to talk about subtraction today. How do you think our lesson is going to be different from the last time you guys heard from me? Pause and talk about it as with partners, and then share out as a group. Before we get started on our new application for subtracting fractions numerically, I want your help in solving this problem. Grab your whiteboards and let's draw a picture to start. Pause and draw your picture to represent 1/3 and 1/5. Go ahead. On my whiteboard, I drew 1/3 by splitting a square into 3 parts and coloring one of the pieces. I also drew 1/5 by splitting it into 5 parts and coloring one piece. Now, I know we can't subtract these two fractions from each other because the bottom numbers aren't the same, but we've practiced with our pictures before. What do I have to do to my 1/3? Pause if you need more time to think about it. we need to split our 1/3 box up into fifths like we did this box. So since I drew 4 lines across that way, I'm going to draw the same thing on this box. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and that gives me 5 rows over here. Now, originally, we had this box split up into thirds. I had 2 lines going down the middle. I'm going to do the same on this side. I'm going to split it up into thirds. Now, my pictures look like they have the same amount of boxes. Let's count and see if they have the same amount of total boxes in them. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 on this side. And how many are colored in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So on this side, we have 5/15. Let's count on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And how many boxes are colored in? 1, 2, 3. Now we have our 2 pictures here, and we can see a little bit more about what we need to take away. We have the same denominators, so we could just subtract right across. 5 minus 3 is 2. 15 and 15, we did all that work to get it there, so we're going to leave it like that. But I also can look at my picture. I have 5/15 over here, and I need to take away 3 of those pieces, which just means I basically need to uncolor in 3 boxes on this side, which leaves me with 2/15 left. That kind of checks out over there. Now, we've talked about using this strategy when we've talked about adding fractions in the past too. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to practice finding these denominators without having to draw a full picture to help us. Let's get started, mathematicians. In our example problem that we did in our application, we used 1/3 minus 1/5, and we drew a picture to help us subtract the 2 fractions from one another. We can also do this mathematically. I want you guys to put down your whiteboard markers and just watch the screen. I might call on you to help me do a few multiplication facts, but first, let's focus on doing changing our fractions numerically. When we did our original problem, we started off with 2 squares. We had one cut into thirds and one cut into fifths. That's a bad square. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll extend it a little. And one cut into fifths. When we sliced these boxes so they were cut into equal parts, how many fifths were equal to the 1/3? So when I cut it into 5 parts, how many boxes did I get? I got 15 boxes and 5 were colored in. We had 5/15 when we colored it in. That also tells us that if we look at 1/3, we cut it into 5 pieces because that was the denominator on the other side. Instead of cutting it into 5 pieces and having to draw out the picture, sometimes it might get frustrating to draw them as they get bigger. Let's just multiply 1/3 by our denominator on the other side. Hold it up on your fingers. What's 1 times 5? I should see 5 held up on your fingers. Let's look below. This one you're going to call out. What's 3 times 5? 15. Good. So doing it mathematically gave us it the same way as our picture. How many 15ths were equal to 1/5? So when we had 1/5 over here and we split it into thirds, how many 15ths did we get? We had 3/15. That is also telling me that we took our 5 columns and we multiplied them by 3. So let's do that math. I'll push my whiteboard up a little bit. We had 1/5, and we split that into 3 more columns, or we multiplied it by the denominator. Everybody on your fingers, hold up 1 times 3. Good, I should see 3s on your fingers. And what is our denominator going to be? Good, 15, 3 times 5. So we did use our picture the first time through, but instead of using the picture, we can look at the opposite denominator. 1/3, the opposite denominator is 5. It tells us to multiply 1/3 by 5. Same with 1/5. We had to look at the opposite denominator, 3, and multiply our 1/5, our numerator and denominator, by the same number to get 3/15. Now that we've solved that part, we still need to figure out how much it is if we subtract one of these from the other one. So if I had my 5/15, I need to write it the same way. It started with 1/3 minus 1/5 turned into 3/15. We did all that work to change our denominators to the same number. So we're going to leave it the same in our answer. And what's 5 minus 3? Hold it up on your fingers. Good. I should see 2 on your fingers. So to read this problem, it's 5/15 minus 3/15 equal 2/15. Say it with me. 5/15 minus 3/15 equals 2/15. Nice job, guys. You're going to continue on with some more practice, and I'll see you the next time we talked about adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. Good luck, mathematicians. You guys got this.